106.3 Dance Radio. Dance Radio.
Prepare yourself.
Ang silid-aralan sa radyo, hatid namin ay makabagong paraan ng pagtuturo at kalaman. Mapaumaga, tanghali o hapon man yan, ang istasyong magbibigay impormasyon kahit saan man.
For something big.
Alright, here we go.
106.3 Dance Radio. Doña Aurora National High School, Santa Rita, Aurora, Isabela.
This
106.3 DWDR-FM. Physics, Chemistry, Earth Science, Biology, Biochemistry, Environmental Science. These are some branches of science. Science is about a whole lot more than that. And to sum it up, we believe that science is the way of helping the brain grow in finding new knowledge and help us defeat our curiosity and how the world develops and works today. Science. This is your class, and this is science. And now, here is your host for the day.
Okay, good morning sa ating lahat. Andito na naman po tayo para sa ating napakasayang scientific time. So, welcome po tayong lahat dito sa ating RBI and live discussion. So, thank you for tuning in and logging in to our station, Dance Radio 106.3 FM. Sa Doña, learning is amazing. Okay, so we're going to have our live streaming today or live discussion. And at the same time, the RBI or the airing of our lesson for this week. So we have with us Ma'am Donabel Velasco, Sir Ronnie Abalos, Ma'am Annabel Medrano, and yours truly, Ma'am Dina Benito. Okay, so Ma'am Annabel,
Yes, good morning sa lahat ng ating mga grade 9 learners. At syempre, hindi lang sa mga grade 9 learners natin, sa lahat na ng ating mga tagapakinig at mga viewers natin, Ma'am Dina. Good morning sa lahat. So, ang inihandang lesson ngayong araw ay para sa ating mga grade 9 learners. So, hopefully, nakatutok na ang ating mga grade 9 learners sa ngayon, Ma'am Dines.
Ay, yes, ma'am. Handang-handa na sila. Kanina pa sila naghihintay, Ma'am Annabel and Ma'am Donna. So,
hindi na natin patatagalin, Ma'am Dines. So, mga anak, keep tuning in to our dance radio para sa ating RBI lesson ngayong araw. Magbabalik kami pagkatapos ng airing ng ating RBI lesson. So, please stay tuned.
Dance Radio, silid-aralan sa radyo, atid namin makabago, paraan ang pagtuturo.
Wala nang makakapigil pa. Sulong Arangkada 106.3 Dance Radio sa Aurora, Isabela.
Edukasyo'y susulong, basta't magtulong-tulong, sulong edukalidad. Dance Radio, learning is amazing.
Physics, Chemistry, Earth Science, Biology, Biochemistry, Environmental Science. These are some branches of science. Science is about a whole lot more than that. And to sum it up, we believe that science is a way of helping the brain grow in finding new knowledge and help us defeat our curiosity of how the world develops and works today. Science. This is your class, and this is science. And now, here is your host for the day,
Good day, our dear listeners, especially to our grade 9 learners. This is your school on the air, and it's science time. It's science time. We are glad because you are with us in our alternative delivery mode of education through the use of this radio-based instruction. It is a great privilege that you can join us in fun learning through radio. You can tune in every day in our station, DWDR-FM 106.3 Dance Radio. I am your host for today, Teacher Dennis Mendoza. With me is Teacher Prince Donrich Bugawizan, our technical specialist. I know you are excited as I am, so get ready, grade 9 learners. Make sure that you are in an area where you feel comfortable and far from noise or any disturbances so that you will be able to listen to this broadcast attentively. At this moment, please get your learning activity sheet on impulse and momentum, your pen and notebook. Always remember to take down important concepts that you hear today. If you have any question about the lesson, you may send your message to your science teacher. Let's get going with our lesson today. Have fun while learning. This time, I turn you over to our radio teacher, Teacher Rio Faye Magaway.
Wonderful day, grade 9 learners! How are you? Welcome to the RBI session in Science 9. You'll be using your learning activity sheet for week 2 titled Impulse and Momentum. Are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Before we start, let's have a review on our topic last week. Let's see if you still recall our previous lessons. Anybody who can tell something about the topics we had last week?
Ma'am, last week we were able to explore the topic projectile motion. Projectile motion is the motion of an object thrown horizontally or projected into the air at an angle. After the initial force that launches the object, it only experiences the force of gravity. The object is called a projectile and its path is called its trajectory.
Wow, that's great! What are the factors affecting projectile motion?
There are three main factors that affect the trajectory of an object or body in flight: the projection angle, magnitude of projection velocity, and height of projection, ma'am.
Exactly! You really learned a lot from our previous discussion, and it seems that you are now ready for our lesson for today. After this RBI session, you are expected to relate impulse and momentum to collision of objects. Explain the relationship of velocity and mass to momentum, and relate impulse and momentum. Get ready, my dear grade 9 learners, for another fun-filled lesson. Before we start, let's find out who are fond of riding a bicycle here.
Ma'am. I am biking every Saturday and Sunday morning as a form of exercise.
Wow, that's a great exercise. Let's now find out from your experience which is harder to stop. The bicycle that moves slow or the one that is fast?
The bicycle that moves fast, ma'am, is harder to stop.
You are correct. What you probably felt during the time is what we call momentum.
What is momentum all about, ma'am?
Well, you have to listen carefully because in our today's lesson, we will know and understand what could be the meaning of momentum.
That sounds interesting, ma'am.
Based from your experience a while ago, what does momentum mean to you?
Based from what I felt in the situation, ma'am, momentum is the difficulty faced by an object or moving body to undergo sudden stop.
Precisely. Momentum is the strength or force that something has when it's moving. Basically, momentum is affected by two factors: the mass of the body and its velocity. The mass of the body and its velocity. What do you think could be the factor that affects the momentum of the bicycle that moves faster a while ago?
It's velocity, ma'am.
Correct! One factor that affects the momentum of a body is velocity. But there's more. Now, let's verify if mass really affects momentum. Let's imagine that there is a heavy ball and a lighter ball rolling. Which from the heavy and lighter ball is hard to stop?
The heavy ball, ma'am.
Very good! Why is the heavy ball harder to stop than the lighter one?
Ma'am, because it possesses a greater mass.
Exactly. Now, what can you conclude from the given situations?
Ma'am, based from those situations, we can say that the greater the velocity, the harder it is to stop the moving body or object. And the greater the mass, the harder it is to stop the moving body or object also.
Precisely. The situation shows us that velocity and mass vary directly with momentum. Thus, it gives us the mathematical formula: momentum is equal to mass times velocity. Momentum is usually abbreviated using the small letter p, making the equation look like small letter p is equal to small letter m times small letter v, where small letter p is the momentum, small letter m is the mass, and small letter v is the velocity of the object. Did you know why small letter p is used to abbreviate momentum?
Why, ma'am?
It is because P came from the Latin word Peter, which means go towards.
Wow, now we know, ma'am.
That's good. Momentum is typically measured in kilograms times meters per second. Because velocity is a vector, momentum is also a vector. This means that in addition to the magnitude of momentum, which is given by small letter p is equal to small letter m times v, momentum also has a direction. The direction of the velocity of an object is the same as the direction of its momentum. Do you understand, my dear learners?
Yes, ma'am.
Let's try to solve a problem to prove that mass and velocity varies directly to momentum. Open your learning activity sheet number 1 in Impulse and Momentum, page 1. The first problem is a 50-kilogram boy runs as fast as 4 meters per second to the north. What is his momentum? Let's first identify the given in the problem.
Ma'am, the given in the problem are mass of the boy 50 kilogram and its velocity is 4 meter per second.
That's right. What is the unknown in the problem?
Momentum, ma'am.
How are we going to solve its momentum?
We will use the equation P is equal to M times V, ma'am.
As stated in the equation, ma'am, we will multiply the mass of the boy, which is 50 kilograms, and its velocity, that is 4 meter per second north.
The product is 200 kilogram meter per second, ma'am.
You got it right. But don't forget the direction because, as I said, momentum is a vector.
Oops, yes, ma'am. The momentum of the boy is 200 kilogram meter per second north, or simply 200 Newton seconds north, ma'am.
Great! Now, class, what if the object's velocity is unknown and its momentum and mass are given? What will be our formula to solve for the velocity?
Ma'am, velocity is equal to momentum divided by the mass, ma'am. Or V is equal to P divided by M.
You are right! Can you solve this problem? The momentum of a 100 kilogram cart is 2,000 kilogram meter per second south. How fast is the cart going? I will give you 10 seconds to solve this problem, my dear learners. Ready? Go! Okay, time's up. Can you now give me your answer?
Ma'am, the given are mass 100 kilogram and momentum 2,000 kilogram meter per second south. Using the formula, V is equal to P divided by M, 2,000 kilogram meter per second divided by 100 kilogram will give us 20 meter per second south, ma'am. And that is the velocity of the cart.
That's great. You got the correct answer. Did the problems prove that mass and velocity varies directly to momentum?
Yes, ma'am. As the velocity and mass increases, momentum also increases.
Great! We will continue our discussion after a short break.
Facts about COVID-19. What is COVID-19? COVID-19 is a disease caused by a new strain of coronavirus. What are symptoms of COVID-19? Symptoms can include fever, cough, and shortness of breath. In more severe cases, infection can cause pneumonia or breathing difficulties. How can we prevent COVID-19? To prevent the spread of COVID-19, clean your hand often. Maintain a safe distance. Wear masks when physical distancing is not possible. Don't touch your eyes, nose, or mouth. Cover your nose and mouth with your bent elbow or a tissue when you cough or sneeze. Stay home when you feel unwell, and if you have a fever, cough, and difficulty breathing, seek medical attention.
This health advisory is brought to you by World Health Organization, Doña Aurora National High School, and this station.
I'm back. Let's continue. Do you know what is collision?
Yes, ma'am. It's when two cars crashing each other.
You are right. But remember, my dear learners, that collision is not only when two cars crashing each other, because in physics, a collision doesn't have to involve an accident like that, but can be any event where two or more moving objects exert forces on each other in a short period of time.
Like when one table is striking another na pool table, ma'am?
Precisely, like a baseball bat hitting a ball also.
Ma'am, how about your fingers striking on the keyboard?
Very good. That is also a collision. You see, class, a collision does not only mean an accident.
Now we know, ma'am.
That's great. Let's take a look when a car and a track van is traveling with the same speed, then suddenly the two vehicles bump into a concrete fence as they took curve. Can you compare the damage on the fence caused by the car and the track van?
Ma'am, the truck van caused greater damage on the fence.
You are correct. But what do you think is the reason why the track van caused greater damage?
Ma'am, it is because the truck van has greater momentum than the car since it is heavier or has a greater mass given that they have the same speed.
And what does it mean if an object has a greater momentum?
The greater the momentum, the harder to stop the object, ma'am. And that makes greater damage to the fence because truck van has greater momentum than the car, ma'am.
Precisely. Now, let's see how collision takes place in other objects other than vehicles. Let's imagine two balls with the same mass that is being thrown in a glass. The first ball was thrown with greater external force, and therefore it travels with a greater velocity than the second ball. Can you compare the damage on the glass caused by these two balls?
Ma'am, the first ball with greater velocity has greater impact or created greater damage to the glass than the ball that has lesser velocity.
You got it right. But what do you think is the reason?
Because the ball with greater velocity has greater momentum, and a sudden change in momentum would mean a greater amount of force that the moving object needs. The greater change it could cause when collided with other object, ma'am.
Well said, my dear learners. You really understood the relationship of mass and velocity to momentum.
Ma'am, I also realized that the stopping or changing the momentum have a damaging effects.
Exactly. An external force acting on an object over a specific time leads to a change in momentum of the object. That is why change in momentum is equal to the product of the force and time, and in physics, this is what we call impulse.
Therefore, ma'am, any change in momentum is what we call impulse.
Precisely. Did you know that in boxing, effective punches are those that transfer large amounts of force in a short period of time?
Just like what Manny Pacquiao did in his fights, ma'am?
You are right. Manny Pacquiao is our favorite boxing champ because he always gives a quick job to make a hard hit. It has greater impact on the opponent than a long job. Therefore, how does the impact time affects the impact force?
Ma'am, the impact force is lesser when the impact time is longer, while the impact force is greater when the impact time is shorter.
Precisely. That is how time affects the impact force.
Is that the reason, ma'am, why vehicles with faster speed can have a greater damage than the slower one?
You're also correct, my dear learners. Can you give another examples where we can apply the concept of impulse?
Ma'am, we need to handle with extra care the fragile things using net, cushion, and corrugated containers to decrease the impact force.
That is why we are also using bubble wrap for packaging fragile item to protect it, ma'am, from breaking.
Wow, those are good examples.
Mom, is there any ways to lessen the amount of damage and ensure the safety of the passengers?
That's a good question. One example that we can use is airbags in automobiles. What do you think is the reason why airbags are very important?
Airbags are used in automobiles because they are able to lessen the effect of the force on an object involved in a collision, ma'am.
That is right, because airbags prolong the time required to stop the momentum of the driver and passenger. When there is a car collision, the driver and passenger tend to keep moving in accordance to Newton's first law or law of inertia.
In addition, ma'am, their motion brings them towards a windshield that results in a large force applied over a short time in order to stop their momentum. If instead of hitting the windshield, the driver and the passenger hit an airbag, then the time duration of the impact is increased. When hitting an object with something such as an airbag, time duration will be increased, and increasing the time will result in a decrease in force.
Well said, my dear. What else can we use to reduce the amount of force?
Seat belt, ma'am.
Correct. What does a seatbelt do?
Seatbelts are considered as a defense line in preventing road traffic collision, injury, and death. It reduces injury by preventing the occupant from hitting the interior parts of the vehicle or being ejected from the car.
Precisely. Always remember safety first. Did you learn from our discussion today?
Yes, ma'am.
That's good to know. I know that you are now equipped with the knowledge about impulse and momentum, and you are now ready to answer the activities in your activity sheet. We will be right back after a short break.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, ma'am. I have just finished accomplishing the task found in my module. How can I send you my outputs for checking and feedbacking?
Oh, that's a nice question. There are actually 3 ways for a student like you to submit your outputs. 1. It could be via online. That is, if you are capable to connect online. You can just upload your outputs in your Google Classroom, or you can take pictures and send them through your group chat or messenger account.
Ma'am, how about if we do not have internet connection?
If you do not have internet connection, you can submit your accomplished tasks in 2 ways. 1. You can ask your parents to submit your outputs in the designated drop-off center. 2. You can save your outputs if you have available flash drive, CD, or DVD at home, and submit it in the designated drop-off center in your respective barangay.
Wow! It's nice to know that there are varied ways on how we can submit our accomplished task.
Always remember, for submission of outputs, you can do it via online, offline, or physical submission. Because at Dance, we make amazing things possible.
you ready to do the activities found in your learning activity sheet?
Yes, ma'am.
Great! Let's perform the activity 2 titled The Bus and the Bug Directions. On page 3, the situation is a bug and a windshield of a fast-moving car collided. All you need to do in this activity is to tell whether the following statements are true or false. Let's answer the first question. The forces of impact on the bug and on the car are the same.
True, ma'am.
Correct. Second, the impulse on the bug and on the car are the same. Is it true or false?
True, ma'am.
Great! Third, the changes in the speed of the car and of the bug are the same.
Mom, the statement is false.
You got it right. Last item, the changes in the momentum of the bug and of the car are the same.
True, mom.
You are correct. You did a great job today, my dear learners. Be sure that you will not miss any activity in your learning activity sheet. Do not forget also to answer the printed weekly validating questions attached to your learning activity sheet and give your insights or reflections in our lesson. It is very important. Let's sum up what you have learned today. Can you describe momentum?
Ma'am, momentum is a quantity that describes an object's resistance to stopping. All objects have mass, so if an object is moving, it has momentum. Momentum is being affected by two things, and that is mass and velocity. The greater the mass, the greater the momentum. And the greater the velocity, the greater the momentum. Momentum varies directly with its mass and velocity.
Precisely. How about impulse?
Ma'am, impulse is the change of momentum of an object when the object is acted upon by a force for an interval of time. So, with impulse, you can calculate the change in momentum, or you can use impulse to calculate the average impact force of a collision.
Ma'am, we also realize that in everyday life, momentum is used many times. This is because the momentum of vehicles running at high speeds is very high and causes a lot of damage to the vehicles and injuries to passengers during the collision.
Ma'am, I also learned that collision does not only mean accidents. It can be any event where two or more moving objects exert forces on each other for a short period of time.
Wow! You are truly amazing, my dear learners. You really understood the real-life application of our lesson for today.
Yes, ma'am. That is why I'll be more careful in driving my bike from now on.
I will always remember to use seat belt whenever we will ride our car, ma'am.
Yes, my dear learners. Your reflections are all good. Our topic for today is really useful. Now, we're done with the lesson. I hope that you grasp all the concepts needed for this lesson. Stay tuned as your grade 9 teachers discuss more about the mathematical part of this lesson, the elastic. They will teach you how to calculate problems related to impulse and momentum, and they will also discuss what is elastic and inelastic collision and how momentum is being conserved through a live streaming. So stay tuned and listen to the continuation of this lesson via Facebook Live. Wow, amazing! That's all for today. Thank you for listening. Back to our radio host, Teacher Dennis Q. Mendoza.
Thank you very much, Teacher Rio. And also to our dear learners for spending another wonderful day with us. I hope your learnings today has made a significant difference in your point of view about impulse and momentum. I would like to acknowledge the teachers behind this School on the Air lesson. Teacher Rochelle G. Santiago, the scriptwriter, Teacher Prince Donoris Bogawizan, our technical specialist, Teacher Vicente S. Rodriguez, Teacher Benjelu R. Paraiso, Teacher Annabel A. Rodriguez, the editors. Thank you very much. This is your radio host for today, Teacher Dennis Mendoza, saying, stay home and follow all health protocols for your safety. Goodbye.
Physics, chemistry, earth science, biology, biochemistry, environmental science. These are some branches of science. Science is about a whole lot more than that. And to sum it up, we believe that science is a way of helping the brain grow in finding new knowledge and help us defeat our curiosity of how the world develops and works today. Science, science, science. This is your class, and this is science.
Dance Radio, silid alalan sa radyo, hatid namin makabago, paraan ang pagtuturo.
Wala nang makakapigil pa. Sulong Arangkada 106.3 Dance Radio sa Aurora, Isabela.
Edukasyo'y susulong, basta na magtulong-tulong, sulong edukalidad. Dance Radio, learning is amazing.
Okay, so we're back. So, dear learners, especially the grade 9, thank you for listening to our RBI. Okay, so Ma'am Annabel, ano ba ang gagawin natin ngayon or anong mangyayari? What are those learnings that we are going to impart to our students for today?
Makikita natin yan, Ma'am Dina, as we go on with our lesson.
Okay, yes.
Ayan, nakikita na natin sa ating screen, dear learners, ang isang rumaragasang car.
Car.
Okay.
Sports car, Ma'am Ana, sports car. As in, dun
Sports
as talagang, nakikita natin na ang bilis ng takbo.
Yes. Kaya nating pahintuin agad-agad, Ma'am Dines, yung isang napakabilis ng takbo na sasakyan, gaya nung nakita natin kanina, na walang brake.
Walang brake.
Oo.
Siguro, Ma'am, kung yung gaya nga ng usapan natin kanina na, kung siguro ako yung driver, siguro pwede ko siya sigurong iliko or what, ibangga na lang, parang ganon. Pero kung ako yung halimbawa, ina-approach or paparating sa akin yung sasakyan, kung siguro ako si Superwoman, Wonder Woman, Superman, kayang-kaya siguro parang stop pa ako lang dun sa may sasakyan, mag-i-stop na siya or parang itutulak ko, siguro kayang-kaya ko. Pero pag yung ganyan, hindi naman ako superhero, hindi naman tayo superhero, mahirap yan, Ma'am, na i-stop.
Yeah, mahirap talagang pahintuin ang isang napakabilis na takbo ng isang sasakyan. That's because mayroon tayong isang term kasi dito na magagamit natin mamaya na tutulungan tayong ipaliwanag sa atin in this lesson. Mahirap i-stop. We could hardly stop a fast moving automobile because this needs a sudden change. This requires a sudden change in its momentum. Which
Yes,
is not
ma'am.
possible. Na malalaman natin mamaya, mabibigyang linaw mamaya ng ating mga kasamang science teachers.
Yes, Ma'am
Okay, tingnan nga
Annabelle.
natin yung susunod, Ma'am Riza. What do you say when a sports team is on a roll? Mahilig ka ba sa mga sports activities, Ma'am Dines? Gaya ng basketball, ganyan.
ba, ganon. Minsan, ma'am, pero minsan kasi, especially that, hindi ko naman masyadong alam yung mga terms na ginagamit. Pero gusto kong manood
Ako
sa
din.
basketball. Pero yung parang, sige, okay lang, sige, dribble, shoot, mga ganon. Pero other terms,
Medyo mahirap.
mahirap.
Okay, sige. What do you say when a sports team is on a roll?
O nga, ano? Okay, so, they may not be,
They may not have.
yes, they may not have
Lead.
the lead, but they may have what we call the
Momentum. So again, we
yes.
have the term momentum here. A team that has momentum is hard to stop. Kagaya nung sasakyan kanina na rumaragasa. So kapag sobrang bilis nung takbo ng sasakyan, we could hardly stop that. Kasi
Yes,
nga,
ma'am.
kaya nang nabanggit ko kanina, it requires a sudden change in its momentum. Pero momentum tayo ng momentum dito. Ano nga ba ang kailangan nating pag-aralan para sa mga learners natin ngayong araw, Ma'am Dines?
Oh, yes,
Tingnan nga
ma'am.
natin ang
So,
objective natin for today.
Yes, so meron lang tayong isang objective for today's or for this week lesson, pero alam ko na malaman na yan, Ma'am Annabelle. Okay, so we're going to relate momentum and impulse. So kanina momentum tayo ng momentum,
Yes.
'di ba? Yung kahit sa 'di ba sa sa basketball ba 'yon, yung pag yung announcer ba 'yon, Ma'am Sir Ronnie, na nasa momentum yung mga manlalaro, mga 'yon. Pero parang ano nga ba talaga 'yun, Ma'am Ana?
Maaring yung term, yung paggamit natin ng term na to ay iba when it's
Yes.
being used in physics.
Yes, ma'am.
Kaya bibigyang linaw yan sa atin ng ating mga kasamang science teachers ngayong hapon. Ay ngayong umaga, nasanay kasi ako sa hapon, we have with us, to help us explain about this objective for today, we have with us Sir Ronnie Abalos and Ma'am Donabel Velasco.
Okay, so Ma'am Donabel and Sir Ronnie. Okay, sila yung magbibigay, di ba?
Magbibigay
ng linaw
sa ating aralin.
Yes.
So, you now have the floor, Ma'am
Okay,
Ma'am
Sir
and
Ronnie. Okay, bago tayo lumayo, Sir Ronnie, define muna natin kung ano yung
Yes,
momentum.
yes ma'am. So, ano ba yung momentum na sinasabi? So, momentum can be defined as the mass in motion. So, all objects have mass. So, if an object is moving, then it has momentum. So, kumbaga basic definitional description ng matter, ma'am, na lahat ng matter ay merong mass. So, kung lahat gumagalaw, lahat ay merong momentum.
Yes.
So, momentum depends upon the two variables, ma'am, the mass and the velocity of the object.
Okay, so we can express momentum as the mass multiplied by its velocity. So, importante talaga ito, Sir Ronnie, kailangan gumalaw siya.
Yes,
Ano?
ma'am.
Para magkaroon siya ng velocity kasi kahit na napakalaki ng mass multiplied by 0, yung velocity, there will be no momentum.
Yes, ma'am.
So in equation,
yes.
mathematically, momentum can be expressed by using this equation. Small letter P is equal to small letter M multiplied by small letter V, where P is our momentum, M is our mass, and expressed in kilogram, V is for velocity, expressed in meter per second. Kaya ang unit niya, Sir Ronnie, is
Kilogram meter per second.
Okay. So, ano siya, Sir Ronnie? Vector.
Yes,
It's a vector quantity.
Yes, kasi because of the velocity, velocity is a vector quantity. Kasi ang counterpart na sa scalar quantity ay speed.
So, meron siyang direction.
Meron siyang direction. Magnitude and the direction.
Ito na, next na tayo. Ayan Ayan na, okay na rin yan.
Okay, momentum is a vector quantity. Bakit masasabi, ma'am?
Kasi whatever the direction of the velocity is the direction of the momentum.
Yes, ma'am. So, momentum is a vector. So, the direction of the momentum is the same as the direction of the vector, the velocity vector. So, yun yung sinabi ni Ma'am Donna. So, an object's momentum will change if its mass or velocity changes. So, mababago siya, ma'am. Kung magbabago yun,
Mass niya or yung kanyang velocity. Di ba, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Para mabago yung momentum ng isang object, dapat mabago yun mass, yung velocity, or mabago silang dalawa.
Oo. Pare-parehong
yes.
magbabago. So, ang tandaan natin dito, ang momentum pwede siyang magbago.
Yes, ma'am. So,
pwede siyang mag-increase,
pwede siyang
mag-decrease.
So, dependent ang momentum sa mass and velocity.
Okay.
Ma'am Donna and Sir Ronnie,
Sige,
kung babalikan
Ma'am
natin
Annabel?
kanina yung sasakyan na rumaragasak, kailan magbabago yung momentum niya doon? Kailan may momentum at kailan maaring mabago yung kanyang momentum?
Ayun, habang tumatakbo siya, may momentum
May
na
momentum,
siya.
oo.
It could change when a net force is applied on the moving object. Kaya lang, Sir Ronnie, meron tayong dalawang effect ng pag-apply ng force. Pwede siyang stopping force or a force that could bring the object to motion. Pwedeng mas mabilis
Mas
ang
mabilis
effect
pa
niya
lalo.
or pwedeng mag-slow down until such time
Na mag-stop.
Oo.
Sir
Sa
Ronnie.
case ng example kanina, ang paraan lang para mabago ang momentum niya, tulad sinabi ni Ma'am Donna, is either bumagal yung sasakyan or bumili siya. Kasi hindi
Bibilis.
naman na magbabago yung mass niya kasi gumagalaw naman na yung sasakyan.
So,
Maliban
parang
na lang
yung-
kung habang gumagalaw siya, nahahati-hati yung sasakyan.
yung speed niya, sir, ang ano doon. Parang siya yung magdedetermine dun sa momentum.
Yes,
Tama
ma'am.
ba
Yung
yun,
velocity
sir?
niya po,
Oo.
ma'am.
Velocity.
Yung speed.
Okay.
Okay, next.
Let's proceed.
Po.
Ayan na yun. Bilis.
Okay, the question. Ito yung
Yan.
sasagutin nila, Ma'am Annabel?
Tingnan na natin kung kaya natin
Ayan.
sagutin yan.
Parang surprise yung question.
Naghang ba?
Nakahang, nakahang.
Nagtatago yung
tanong.
question natin.
Okay.
Hintayin natin.
Hintayin natin, Ma'am Lisa.
Bakit kaya? Anong nangyari dun sa question natin?
Technical problem ba tayo?
Ayaw magpakita, Ma'am Lisa.
Ayan. Anong nangyari?
Anong nangyari?
Question.
Ayun.
Okay.
Ayan.
So, babasahin ko para kila Ma'am
Ako na lang
Annabel.
ang magbabasa. Pero parang kaya kong sagutin ito.
Ako na lang magbasa. Sagutin mo, Ma'am Ana.
Tapos ipasa natin sa kanila.
Yes, okay.
Pwede naman.
Yes,
Okay?
pwede naman. Okay, so ito yung tanong. Two trains, Big Red and Lil Blue, have the same velocity. Big Red, however, has twice the mass of Little Blue. Compare their momentum. So, meron tayong dalawa, di ba?
Okay.
Isang malaki at saka isang maliit.
Isang maliit.
Pareho ang kanilang bilis.
Velocity. Yes, ma'am.
Velocity.
Yung speed nila parehas
yung
sila.
condition niya, the same velocity,
Pero,
pero magkaiba ng
mass.
So, compare their momentum,
okay,
ma'am.
kunwari, yan, yung truck. O kunwari, yung dalawang vehicle na lang, truck at
Yes,
saka,
ma'am.
Kotse.
pang
Yung kotse.
tricycle.
Tricycle. Bisikleta.
Yan. Truck, yung pareho ang
Yung
velocity
parehas ang
kasi.
velocity.
Yes. Yun, dapat may machine
Yung,
silang...
oo.
So, sabihin, sige, truck and...
Jeep?
Jeep.
Yan.
Okay.
Yung truck
The jeep.
and jeep, Sir Ronnie, dahil quantitatively, tingnan natin mass and velocity ang pinag-uusapan, yung jeep, kahit hindi natin i-determine ang mass by just looking at the size,
Yes.
mas maliit siya kaysa
Sa truck.
So, inspect natin yung size ng truck, mas malaki yung truck, which is the mass, kaysa sa jeep. So, automatically, asan sa road yung mas malaki ang momentum niya.
So, yung truck, ma'am, kasi because of the
mass.
Kasi ang condition niya na, ma'am, the same velocity. So, kung i-compare natin momentum between the truck and the jeepney, o yung jeep na tinatawag natin, o dito sa example natin, the big and the red blue, two trains with big and red, little blue, have the same velocity. Kung yung truck is the truck, however, has twice the mass of the jeep.
Madodoble
Yes,
siya.
madodoble. So, mas malaki talaga ang kanyang momentum.
Kaya kung, Sir Ronnie, kung magkasing bilis tayo tumakbo,
Nako, mas malaki ang
tatakbo tayong dalawa.
mas malakas ang momentum ko, ma'am. Dahil sa mas malaki ang tiyan.
Yes.
Yun ang basehan pa.
Yun yung basehan, yung laki ng tiyan, ganun ba yun?
Tumitimbang yata ako ng 80. Ewan ko.
Lapit-lapit na rin ako dyan.
Delikado na
Pang
to.
heavyweight na ako sa boxing. Okay, an object with momentum is hard to stop. Parang doon sa example kanina nila, ma'am, sa isang laro, sa isang
Yung sa
game.
vehicle, sir,
Yeah.
ano?
Yes, kahit doon sa, pag meron siyang momentum, mahirap na siyang i-stop. Kaya
Yan
pag
yung-
nag-explain, ma'am, ang teacher,
Yeah.
lahat,
Oo,
isang
nag-interrupt.
momentum na siya, at biglang meron nag-interrupt na estudyante, ang hirap ng ibalik.
Ibalik,
Yes.
oh yes, tama ka Sir Ronnie.
Kahit anong kanyan, kahit anong activity, once na na-break
Na-interrupt.
yung momentum, na-interrupt ang momentum,
Yes,
ang hirap
ang
ibalik
hirap
yung
ibalik.
momentum mo, no? Di ba?
Parang tatamarin ka na ano, parang
Yes.
ano na lang kasi yung ano mo na ano, parang yung anong tawag nito Ma'am Ana, yung parang yung ano mo na
Yung bilis mo.
oo, na tapusin or ano yon. Pero may nag-interrupt sa'yo, parang naku,
Mahirap.
mahirap
Mahirap ibalik.
talaga.
Oo.
Ay, parang yung nga, ang daming breakups, you know. So, meron tayong momentum problem dito.
Yes, para mas lalo nating maintindihan kung ano yung sinasabi natin na momentum. Using, of course, the formula. Okay, so the problem, a supersonic bomber with a mass of 21,000 kilogram departs from its home air base with a velocity of 400 meter per second due east. Okay, what is the jet's momentum?
Sagutan natin sa learners yan.
Yeah, pwede
Ma'am
siguro, ma'am.
Pwede
Ina,
yan, ma'am.
kasi
Yes, pwede.
Sa tingin ko, kaya na nila, no?
Oo. Huwag lang nilang kakalimutan yung formula, ma'am, which is P is equal to mass times velocity. Okay, do not forget also yung mga units na gagamitin natin, di ba ma'am? Kasi napaka-importante yon. And saan ba papunta yon? Since, di ba sabi nga nila kanina, or sabi natin, momentum is vector. So there is a change in the direction. Tama ba ako, Ma'am Annabel?
Yeah, we should
So,
indicate the
yes,
direction.
we should indicate the direction. Okay, so sa mga learners natin dyan na nakikinig, pwede po nyong i-type ang inyong sagot sa ating chat box.
May sumagot na ba? Ayun, meron na
ang bilis
yata.
naman.
Ang bilis.
Ang bilis.
Late itong akin.
Okay, so ano ang answer ni, ma'am? Hindi ko makita. Chris. Okay, so siya yung nauna, si Christian Vino from 9 Darwin ata, si Christian Vino. Okay.
Actually, Ma'am Mandain, Sir Ronnie, Ma'am Donna, meron ding sagot kanina dun sa Big Red at saka, ang tawag doon, Big Red at saka
Dun sa
Little
track.
Blue.
Oo.
Yeah, si Christian Vino at saka si Natasha Pearltan of 9 Darwin, meron silang mga sagot dun sa nauna nating mga tanong.
Yan.
Very good, and
Napaka-active
thank you for
naman
participating. Okay, balik tayo dito sa sasagot sa ating momentum problem. Tama ba yung sagot ni Christian?
Yes, so we
Okay.
have, siya ba yung nauna, ma'am?
Ma'am Riza, siya bang nauna?
Tama, Sir Ronnie?
400,000 kilo.
Is.
Momentum. Okay, so thank you, Christian. Ay, itong mga bata nito, mga 9 Darwin yata, ma'am,
Yes.
talagang very active sila.
Every week sila nakikipag-participate.
Okay. So, yun yung first problem natin. So, we have here another problem. So, meron pang chance yung mga iba. Okay, so here's the problem. Let's assume the jet drops its payload and has burned up most of its fuel as it continues its journey to its destination airfield. Wala na bang ano yan, ma'am? So, if the jet's new mass is 16,000 kilogram and due to its reduced weight, the pilot increases the cruising speed to 550 meter per second. What is the jet's new momentum? Okay. So, yung kanyang mass nung jet is 16,000 kilogram. Then, yung kanyang speed is 550 meter per second. So, what is the jet's new momentum? Okay, in solving such problem, di ba ma'am, kailangan, para mas mapadali, kailangan alam natin what are the given. Ano ba yung mga meron doon?
Nabanggit mo na yata, Ma'am Dina.
Yung kanina? Yes, so ano ba yung mga meron doon? We have the mass and the velocity.
Okay, Angeli. May sagot si Angeli dito. Angeli Pineda is again from 9, Darwin. Meron din tayo Almira Kalamayan Banyaga from 9, SPJ. Same answer. Okay, with correct. Tama ba to? With the unit. And we also have Abigail de la Cruz from 9, Darwin also. Avril Makadangdang, 9 Lanzones. Kaninong hawak ang 9 Lanzones sa atin? And then, Lori Faye Orate, Roveline Isabel Dominia, 9 Mendel, Jewel Lacanilao. Ang dami nila. Tracy Ann Bulilan. Okay, Lance Andre Ballesteros, and si Lance lang atang last. And we also have Rejanil Bernardo. Marami sila from 9 Chico. Halo-halo na to, hindi na lang ano. Oo. And 9 SPJ, ito may babang section. Thank you very much for
your answer.
Oh yeah, for trying in solving the given problem here. Ano nga bang sagot? Tama ba sila? Okay. So the answer is
8,800,000 kilogram meter per second is. Do not forget yung paglalagay ng
may mga hindi naglagay ng direction.
Yes. Pag walang direction, mali yun, di ba ma'am?
Correct yung magnitude pero yung wala na direction kaya lang.
So dapat laging nilalagay yung direction. Saan ba siya patungo o papunta?
Next, Ma'am Riza. Okay, sina Sir Ronnie. Balik tayo kay Sir Ronnie and Ma'am Donna.
So, ito yung trivia question natin. Pasagutin natin sa mga learners natin. Which has a greater momentum? A bicycle moving at 0.5 meter per second or a dump truck unloading gravel and sand on a construction area. So, ano kaya dyan ang mas malaki, mas mataas ang momentum? The bicycle moving at 0.5 meter per second or a dump truck unloading a gravel and sand on a construction area.
Sa tingin mo?
Manghula tayo.
Manghula tayo. Kasi nung nakaraan yan, ang sagot ko is dump truck eh.
Sir Ronnie, kasi, ang nakikita ko dyan, wala tayong value for the velocity of the dump truck unloading the gravel and sand.
Yes, automatic ma'am. Since nag-unload siya, hindi siya...
Slow siya.
Hindi siya gumagalaw, ma'am.
Hindi siya gumagalaw.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Pero kung pwede rin natin ang sabihin dyan, yung momentum ng tumataas na gravel and sand, hindi yung alam mo yung loader niya mismo?
Yes, ma'am.
May velocity naman yun.
Since na
yung pagtaas
naggumagalaw
niya, di ba? Pero kung yung truck lang mismo,
yes, so zero siya.
Okay, zero.
So,
kasi baka malito yung mga bata. Kasi meron kasi tayong movement doon sa truck, yung loader niya, nagmo-move.
Just the loader naman, ma'am.
Oo, yung loader lang. Pero yung truck mismo,
naka-stop.
Naka-stop siya.
Stationary.
Kaya imagine naman daw kapag gumagalaw yung habang nag-unload.
So, mga anak, ang truck dyan na stationary, yun yung i-compare natin sa bicycle, ha?
Okay. May mga sumagot na, ma'am. And sir. Ma'am Dain, sino sila?
Yes, merong sumagot. Again, from 9 Darwin. Si Christian Vino. Eto ang sagot niya. The bicycle has greater momentum because it has a velocity while the dump truck is at rest or not moving. Meaning, it has no velocity. Yan po yung kay Christian Vino.
Any number that is multiplied to zero, kahit malaki yan, still zero.
Zero pa rin. Kaya,
bicycle. Abigail de la Cruz is also bicycle. Pero, Si Christian kasi nakapagbigay siya ng,
Yes, ng
further explanation sa kanyang sagot.
Okay, next slide.
Nasusundan nila yung lesson, ano?
Yes.
Yan, very
Okay.
good.
Itong, Ma'am Annabel, babasahin ko to. Oh. What is the advantage of using helmet when riding a single motor? I repeat.
Ikaw ba, Sir Ronnie?
What is the advantage of using helmet when riding a single
Bago ko
motor?
sagutin yan, or si Ma'am Donna siguro, maangkas mo
Hindi. Sir Ronnie, tanungin mo muna kung ano, nagmomotor ba si Ma'am Annabel? Nagmomotor ba siya?
Nakita ko minsan si Ma'am Annabel nakakotse yan pero naka-helmet naman siya.
Gano'n. Ay, so pwede pala yun. Yung nakakotse pero naka-helmet.
Sa loob ng kotse, naka-helmet pa ako. Hindi, sabi ni Ma'am Risa, nagbibiro lang naman. Iwas hulin sa LTO.
Okay.
Malaki nga naman ang multa kung sakali.
Okay, iwas huli sa poso, 500 pesos yan.
Yes. Pero merong mas mahalaga, di ba, Ma'am Donna and Sir Ronnie, na hindi tayo umiiwas sa LTO, pero may mas mahalaga pa kung bakit.
Ano ang kinalaman na yan, Ma'am Donna, sa lesson natin na impulse and momentum?
Sir Ronnie, di ba, pagka malakas, ay di ba yung
Force.
motorcycle, pagka
Mabilis.
Mabilis kasi yan talaga pag,
Yes.
especially yung mga ginagamit
Mga
sa
riders.
Yung mga sa racing ba yun?
Yes, lalo tayo sa highway na sila.
Sa highway. Kailangan mabilis ka talaga at malaki ang motor yata nun.
Yes,
ang ano niya. O yung mga big bike.
yes.
Mabilis talaga yan. Ngayon, requirement yan, magsuot tayo ng helmet para maiwas sa
ma-protectionan yung...
maprotektahan yung anong part ng katawan natin.
Yung ulo natin, Ma'am.
May sagot ulit sila dito.
Okay.
Ulo.
So,
May
bakit
sagot sila.
kasi, Sir Ronnie?
Yes, ma'am. Di ba pag once na nagkaroon ng aksidente, mas greater yung time of impact. Tama, ma'am? Doon sa mas matitigas na bagay. So, ibig sabihin, mas mababa yung impulse niya. Mas mababa o mas safe.
Yung damage.
Yes. Or mas konti ang damage.
Okay. Kasi yan, yung paggamit ng helmet is used as a cushion.
Yes.
No? Yung cushion sa ulo natin because it is hard, no? And yung surface natin sa lupa o sa simento o sa any pavement ay hard. So anong pwedeng mangyari lalo na kapag during collision, di ba? Yun ang iniiwasan
Yes, ma'am.
natin. Yung collision sa kalsada, yun ang magiging dahilan kung bakit tayo kailangan mag-helmet.
Yes. Instead na tatama muna tatama ng
Diretso.
sa
lupa.
Sa semento,
pavement.
ma'am. Sa pavement,
Yes.
ma'am. Doon
Meron
muna,
kang-
yes. So, mas matagal yung
Time.
Yung time of impact. Yes. Kasi ito na ngayon yung, ano yun, pwede ko na ba? Ito ngayon yung new lesson natin sa Ronnie, na pwede nating i-relate itong paggamit ng helmet doon sa length of time of the impact which is caused by a change in momentum. Siyempre, kapag may collision, that's the time the momentum has to change. No? Let's say, for example, ano yung change sa momentum? Minsan yan, nag-stop, di ba? At a sudden.
Yes.
Especially during the application of force is very short.
Yes.
Yung pag-apply ng force, mabilisan. Kunwari, nagpreno ka.
Biglang preno.
Biglang preno. So, anong mangyayari sa Ronnie kapag, lagi kasi nagmomotor kapag abrupt yung pag-apply mo ng force sa brakes, mag-move forward ka because of inertia, di ba?
Yes.
Kasi yung momentum mo pa-forward, so the tendency is for the body to continue moving forward. And the tendency, kasi meron kang tendency to move forward, continue moving forward, mahahagis ka.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? So, pwede kang tumilapon, ano yung pwedeng bumangga ay, ano yung pwedeng tumama.
Tumama yung ulo sa mas matitigas na bagay. Okay, sa daan na lang ma'am, sa semento.
So, dapat ba tayong gumamit ng helmet?
Yes, ma'am, dapat. At
Kahit
standard
nga lang-
helmet.
Kahit nga lang bike lang, di ba, ma'am and sir? Kahit bike
may
lang.
helmet sila.
Yung scooter. Scooter dapat pa rin. For protection talaga yan.
Mga ma'am and sir, i-recognize lang natin Christian Vino, Natasha Peraltan, Lorely Faye Orate, so that they will continue participating, Avril Makadangdang, Cyrene Ordinario, and all the rest who have given an answer to the helmet question a while back sa bell ringer natin. Thank you so much, mga anak. Okay, let's go on.
Sir Ronnie. Ayan, nakita nyo? Anong laro yan, Sir Ronnie?
Ano laro yan, ma'am? Rugby?
Soccer.
Hindi soccer yan.
Hindi yan soccer. Bilog yung bola ng soccer.
Football.
Football daw.
Football yan, kasi American football. Kasi
Ay,
medyo...
thank you so much, Sir Mark.
Hindi namin alam yan, Sir Mark.
Ayan. So, makita natin naka-helmet sila.
Yes,
no?
naka-helmet sila.
Ayan.
Okay. How hard is to stop a moving object? So to stop an object, we have to apply a force over a period of time. And this is called the impulse. So change in momentum yun. Kasi over the period of time, nag-a-apply ka ng force. So ibig sabihin, nagbabago yun, momentum mo. It's either kung nag-apply ka naman ng force na biglaan or talagang in-stop mo siya, talagang babagal naman yun or liliit or bigla na lang mawawala yun, momentum. Pero once nag-apply ka ng force na itinulak mo para mapabilis, bibilis naman yung momentum ng isang object.
Ibig sabihin, Sir Ronnie, may relationship etong change in momentum and
The impulse. Yes, ma'am.
Which is the force exerted for a period of time. Okay. Ayan. So, impulse, in equation, impulse is equal to the force applied at a specific time, for a period of time. Okay. So, yung ating unit ng impulse, because ang unit natin sa force ay Newton, it is expressed in Newton seconds. Okay. So, tandaan natin, itong impulse, Sir Ronnie, is equivalent to the change in momentum. Okay? Yung pagbabago ng momentum, yun yung impulse. Okay, sabi niya, using Newton's second law, we get the equation force times the change in time or applied for a period of time is equal to the mass multiplied by the change in velocity. Okay. So, ito yung ating working equation, Sir Ronnie, sa relationship ng impulse and momentum. So, which means impulse is equal to the change in momentum. So, pag may change ka sa momentum, that is equivalent to the impulse.
So, what impulse? Applying a force over time interval to an object changes the momentum. A change in momentum is known as an impulse. So, kaya pa natin sinasabi yan, change in momentum is called impulse. So, the vector quantity for impulse is represented by the letter J.
Sir, baka malito sila. I. Okay lang din yung I.
I.
Yes.
Sige. Yes. The letter I.
Letter I.
Letter
impulse.
I kasi, yes. Impulse. The letter I.
Pero pwede din nilang gamitin yung J.
Pero mas common is I ang ginagamit, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Para mas lang.
I ang ginagamit sa mga books. Kahit sa module, I think sa module nila I ang ginagamit, big letter I. And since it is a change in momentum, its units can be one at the same as those for momentum. So, kilogram, meter per second. And can also be written as the Newton second. So, note, in sports, impulse is called follow through.
Ano ibig sabihin nun, Sir Mark? Ay, bigla napunta sa sports kasi.
Sports, so, mga mape.
Follow through,
Sa mga sports, alam mo yung follow through.
Magkikialam si MJ.
tawagin natin special participation.
Okay, Sir Ronnie, if momentum changes, it's because mass or velocity also change.
Yes, ma'am. Most often, mass doesn't change, so the velocity changes, and this is acceleration. So, normally naman, ma'am, na hindi talaga yung sasakyan na tumatakbo, nagbabago lang yung momentum na yan. Hindi dahil sa nagbago yung mass niya, kundi nagbabago yung velocity niya. Yung momentum ng isang object, nagbabago, hindi dahil sa nagbago yung mass niya, kundi nagbago yung velocity niya. And then we get momentum P is equal to mass times change in velocity. So mass times acceleration. Okay, next. So ano formula ng impulse, ma'am?
So, impulse in equation is equal to the force multiplied by the time impulse. So, gaano ba kabilis na i-apply yung force? O, yan yun. Okay? Or the change in momentum.
Yes.
Where I is equal to the F multiplied by the T expressed in Newton second. Yung F natin, where F is the force applied multiplied by the time given in or expressed in second. Okay. Ayan na siya. So, momentum now is equivalent to the change, impulse now is equal to the change in momentum, which is equivalent to the final momentum minus the initial momentum expressed in kilogram meter per second. Ayan. So, Sir Ronnie, meron akong tanong bago tayo pumunta dun sa impulse example. So, alam mo na ba kung bakit nabe-break yung hollow block o yung block of wood kapag ka tinamaan ng kamay nung karatista?
Ang napapansin ko lang, ma'am, kailangang mabilis.
Yes.
Mabilis yung,
So,
yung action nila.
So,
hindi pwedeng slow motion.
Yes.
Hindi napipitak. Bakit kaya, ma'am, kailangang mabilis?
So, anong kailangan? Kailangan mabilis, di ba?
Yes, ma'am. Napapansin ko lang, ma'am, ang bilis.
Karatistang.
Yes, ang bibilis. Bakit kaya,
So, ano yun?
impulse, ma'am?
Impulse ba yun o momentum, Sir Ronnie?
The impulse?
Impulse yun.
Yes.
Kasi ano yung binabago niya doon?
Yung time?
Yes,
yung time.
time. The shorter the time, the greater the impact, the greater is the force.
So yun ba yung ano, sir, di ba kay yung impulse, di ba parang yung bilis, parang ganun? So parang yung ano ba ni Manny Pacquiao, di ba si Manny Pacquiao, kaya ba siya palaging nananalo? It's because of yung ano niya, mabilis yung
Mas
galaw niya.
malakas kasi yung impact niya.
Yes. Sunod-sunod, mabilis yung, okay.
Hindi yung gano'n, no? Hindi slow mo.
Hindi masakit yun pag ano. Pag
hindi kita nasaktan.
Okay, so, Ma'am Annabelle, babasahin ko itong example number 1.
Sasagutin mo na
Sagutin
rin.
niyo na. Let's assume that the bomber from the previous problem, yung problem to sa momentum kanina, which had a momentum of 8,800,000 kilogram meter per second comes to a halt on the ground. What impulse is applied?
Meron tayong mga initial momentum, tama ba ako? At saka final momentum dito.
Yes.
Parang tuloy mo na, Ma'am Donna. Okay, so we have here.
May dalawa tayong motion dyan, di ba?
Yes. So, i-identify muna natin yung given sa problem. We have there 8,800,000 kilogram meter per second to the east. Ano ito, Ma'am Dines? That's the initial momentum, okay? Initial momentum comes to a halt. Ibig sabihin, nag-stop siya. Tama ba ako?
Yes.
On the ground. Therefore, the final momentum is 0. What impulse is applied? So, simply have that formula. Change in momentum is equal to PF minus PI. That would be 0 minus 8,800,000 kilogram meter per second to the east. That would be equal to 8 million kasi 0 minus the same number. Okay, so we have 8 million negative Negative 8,800,000 kilogram meter per second today. Para saan yung negative dyan? Sir Ronnie, Ma'am Donna?
Yung nag-decrease siya. Di ba?
Ng kanyang momentum.
Nag-decrease siya ng kanyang momentum kasi nag-stop siya eh. Yung final motion niya is a stopping, is zero. Okay? So, pag sinabi nating halt kasi sa Ronnie, nag-stop
siya.
yan. Okay?
Okay.
Okay na po? May susunod? Ayan.
Meron pang isang problem.
Ma'am Ana, if the football halfback experienced a force of 800 Newton for 9 seconds to the north, determine the impulse. So, Ma'am Dina?
Okay, so ano yun, yung football halfback experience a force of 800 Newton for 0.9 seconds to the north. So, determine the impulse. So, you use the formula, impulse is equal to force times time. So, simple lang siya, i-multiply mo lang yung force, which is 800 Newton, sa time which is 0.9 seconds. So, we get 720 Newton seconds. Yun yung impulse niya. 720 Newton seconds.
Ma'am Annabelle.
Bakit number 2? Yes, Ma'am.
Ma'am Dina, yung mga estudyante natin, wag kayong malilito ha. Kasi doon sa dalawang sample problem natin, dalawa yung equation na ginamit natin, ano?
Yes.
Kasi pwede natin, yung formula natin will depend on the given.
Yes, ma'am.
No, kung ano yung given sa problem, pag binigay sa problem yung initial and final momentum, we just subtract the two.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So, napaka-importante talaga, ma'am, na kailangan i-determine muna nila kung ano yung meron doon sa
Kung
problem.
ano yung given. Sinusulat mo na yun. And then doon sa pangalawa, ano yung ginamit nating equation? Kasi depende yan sa given. Given kasi ang force
yung
applied
force,
and the time the force was applied. Okay, so tingnan muna natin yung given and then we could determine from the given kung ano yung ating equation na gagamitin. Okay, yung number 3 na po.
Number 2 pa rin naman dyan.
Sorry po, number 3 na po tayo dyan. So, siguro ma'am, pwedeng sagutin yan ng mga estudyante natin.
Okay, may we have our students
to
answer the last problem probably.
Yes, ma'am.
On impulse. So I will read the problem and then dear learners, you can key in your answer with the correct unit afterwards. A 10-kilogram model rocket's engine is designed to deliver an impulse of 6 Newton second. If the rocket engine burns for 0.75 second, what is the average force the engine produce? What is the average force does the engine? Parang may sobra doon. What is the average force
does the
engine produce?
Okay, so my dear students, you can key in your correct answer sa chat box po natin. Meron na ba?
So we're looking for the
Impulse pa rin, sir.
Hindi,
Force.
Force,
What is the
ma'am.
average force?
We're looking for the force.
So we are going to derive the formula from that
Yes.
impulse formula, I equals Ft, okay?
So, parang magiging
So force is
force
equal to
is equal
I
to
over T.
yes.
Impulse divided by the time.
Okay, meron na po ba
So
tayong
next ma'am, tingnan natin yung solution niya.
sagot?
So the time is 75 seconds while the force
It's missing.
Newton per second, okay? So divide both sides by 0.75 seconds, 0.75 seconds, cancel the same units which is second. So F or the force is equal to
6 divided by 0.75, we have 8 Newton.
8 Newton. So the final answer is
8
Newtons.
Newtons.
Okay, may mga ibang answers dito.
Oo, may mga ibang sumagot.
Yes.
Pero may tamang sagot naman tayo,
Oo,
ma'am.
may tamang sagot. And again, si Christian Vino.
Ang nauna. Meron
Siya
din
pa
sa
din yung
baba.
nauna.
Angel Domingo. Yan, Natasha
Almira from SPJ. Yes.
Glyza Ann Salvador. Maria Eliza Baniked. Kimi Shaira Ramos. Jewel Lacanilaw. Ang dami nila. Para di
May
ko
mga
mabasa to,
chico pa,
Bian.
ma'am.
From 9 Dalandan. Miss Lucero ba to?
Oo, si Viance Locero from 9 Dalandan. Wow naman. Marami talagang nakikipag-participate sila mga.
At nakakasunod sila kagaya kanina. Very good. Ayan, si Pacquiao. Si Pacquiao ba to?
Oh, si Pacquiao ata yan? Oo. Oo.
Why do boxers do quick punches on their opponents? So nasagot na natin yan. Mas malaki yun.
Impact.
Yung
Impact. Mas malakas yung impact.
Because of the shorter
time.
Ano?
Yung force
Yung
niya,
impact
yung
time
impact
natin,
time niya, mas
mas
maliit,
yes.
mas malaki tuloy yung force.
Yes.
Pag nagland doon sa kalaban.
Nung mga bata kayo, naranasan niyo bang mapalo? O mapalo ng magulang?
Opo. Mas masakit yung palo ng magulang pag sobrang bilis na.
Anong mas masakit yung parang gano'n? Yung palong ganun lang, mabilisan? O yung
isa lang kasi ang palo
yung
sa
ganun,
akin.
oo.
sapet na?
Oo, isa lang. Hindi sunod-sunod. Masakit yun.
Masakit yung sunod-sunod talaga.
So parang
Kahit
ganun
isang
lang din
palo
yun.
lang.
Meron tayong, parang naulit ba to? Impulse momentum theorem?
The impulse momentum, yes, the summary. Since momentum is equal to mass times velocity, we can write that. And we also know that impulse is change in momentum. So impulse can be written as I, or the impulse is equal to change in momentum. If we combine these equations, we find P is equal to mv, I is equal to change in momentum. So, magiging formula niya, ma'am. Gusto mo na?
Ayan na yung sinabi natin kanina, no?
Yes.
Wherein, yung final equation natin now is momentum is equal to the change in momentum. Impulse is equal to the change in momentum, which is equal to the change in mv or your change in momentum, or which is equivalent to the change in mass times the velocity. Yan yun. Okay, ikaw na yan, Dines.
Yan,
Ma'am
yung
Dines.
naidaldal na natin yan, ma'am.
Okay.
Since the mass of a single object is constant, a change in the product of mass and velocity is equivalent to the product of mass and change in velocity. Yun yung sinasabi mo yun kanina, ma'am. Yung yung impulse is equal to the change in momentum, also equal to the mass times the velocity. So, parang pinag-uusapan natin is about the changes in velocity. Yun yun. Okay? Yan pa rin pinapakita na lang yung mga iba't ibang, yung mga natin, yung mga formulas. Sige lang, ma'am. So, yan, to summarize, when an unbalanced force acts on an object for a period of time, a change in momentum is produced known as an impulse. Wag na nating yan, yung problem din yan na isa. Sige lang, ma'am. Sige lang.
Okay, now let's look into some of the real-life examples of momentum. May mga nabanggit na rin kanina as we discussed. And then, sina Ma'am Donna and then Sir Ronnie, marami na rin sila mga nabanggit na real-life applications of momentum and impulse.
Yes,
So,
kagaya nung helmet kanina.
Yeah, let's look into this. We have seen that road accidents at high speeds are very much worse than accidents at low speeds. Tama nga naman, di ba? Kaya nakakatakot din mag-drive yung mga lasing, di ba? Ang tawag doon, ang bibilis nila magpatakbo. This is because the momentum of vehicles running at high speeds is very high and causes a lot of damage to the vehicles and injuries to passengers during the collision. Mas mabilis yung takbo, mas
malaki yung
ano?
epekto. O yung ano ng aksidente.
Yeah.
parang ganun.
There will be greater change also in the
Yes.
momentum when the car is speeding fast. And of course, yung aksidente mas malala din.
Yes, mas malala.
What about this one? A bullet.
O, di ba ang bullet? Yung bala, napakaliit, di ba? Small in mass, has a large momentum because of an extremely large velocity. So
Because-
therefore, we can conclude that the combined effect of mass and velocity of a body is taken into account by a physical quantity called momentum and is considered to be a measure of the quantity of motion of a moving body.
Kaya hindi natin dapat na, ang tawag doon, yung
Minamaliit
maliit,
ang
parang
maliit.
gano'n, yung maliit, minamalit ang maliit kasi with high velocity,
Yes.
this could mean a lot, okay?
Yes.
When, sa Ilocano, kung nadagarod, uray basit, no nataragsit. Okay, let's have here a summary of the difference between momentum and impulse. Basahin ko yung momentum, Ma'am Dines, and then sa kabila ikaw.
Okay.
Momentum is a quantity that describes an object's resistance to stopping, a kind of moving inertia. While an impulse
Is a quantity that describes the effect of a net force acting on an object. It is a kind of a moving force.
Okay, momentum is represented by the symbol P, boldface. Ano ibig sabihin ng boldface?
Ano siya? Naka-caps lock. Hindi siya naka-bold.
Bold.
Kumbaga
Akala ko
parang-
ang pinoon dati dito is malaki, hindi?
Hindi.
Maliit.
Hindi.
Boldface lang.
Yes. Sa impulse naman, represented by the symbol letter I.
Okay, and then finally we have momentum is the product of an object's mass and velocity, which is represented by the equation P for momentum is equal to the product of mass and velocity. That's mv.
Yes. Sa impulse naman, it is the product of the average net force acting on the object of an object and its duration. So I is equal to the force times the change in velocity or time, I should say. Sa time siya. So I is equal to F times time or T.
Okay. So that do you still have something to add, Ma'am Donna and Sir Ronnie?
Yes, parang may pinag-uusapan sila.
Yeah,
ma'am,
mayroong
eh.
gusto pang i-share?
Oo.
Gusto kong i-share yung ano,
Ano may mahaba-haba pa?
yung kasabihan.
Yes,
Sabi
ma'am.
niya, di ba pag mabilis
Yes.
ang momentum, may naalala ko nung grade 1 ako eh. Yung ang tumatakbo ng matulin, kung
Masakit. Ay, hindi.
matinik ay malalim.
Ay,
Sabi
salamat
niya.
naman, Sir Mark.
Meron tayo.
Yes.
Diba?
Na-apply natin,
Yung
ma'am,
matulid.
kanina dun sa speeding car na sobrang bilis. Pag na-aksidente yan, mas malala din yung
impact.
aksidente.
Mas malaki yung impact
Okay.
niya, yung gravity parang gano'n nung ano.
And with that, we end our lesson for this week on impulse and momentum. And hopefully, dear learners, you have learned a lot from our discussion this week. So before we end, may we also recognize
Yes.
yung mga kasama natin dito sa studio.
Sa radio booth.
Sa radio booth.
Yes,
talaga.
studio talaga. Yes, si Sir Bagamas.
Yeah, hindi natin sila nakikita, but
Yes.
they are working as, helping us as we have our discussion here. Sir Mark Bagamaspad, Sir Dennis Mendoza,
si
and
Ma'am Riza.
yeah, of
Si
course, Ma'am Riza
Yes,
Marsan. Okay,
Ma'am
maraming
Riza
salamat.
Marsan.
And of course, sa ating administration, headed
The
by
Ma'am Ophelia S. Ralutin. Of course, sa ating mga head teachers. Lalong-lalo na sa ating head teacher in science.
Ma'am Annabel Rodriguez.
Yes, so ma'am, thank you sa aming mga kasama dito sa loob, si Ma'am Donna, Sir Ronnie, Ma'am Annabel Medrano Toribio, and of course ako, Ma'am Dina Benito. Maraming salamat. And I hope, yun nga sabi ni Ma'am Annabel kanina, we hope na marami kayong natutunan sa aming maikling discussion.
See you all next week sa last episode ng ating Scientific Time.
Bye, everyone.
Physics, chemistry, earth science, biology, biochemistry, environmental science. These are some branches of science. Science is about a whole lot more than that. And to sum it up, we believe that science is the way of helping the brain grow in finding new knowledge and help us defeat our curiosity and how the world develops and works today. Science. This is your class, and this is science. And now, here is your host for the day. Ito ang 106.3 Dance Radio. Dance Radio.
Prepare